Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are reading with the Course Companions. We are on day 326 in chapter 28, The Little Gap. This is section 3, The Feast of Plenty. What waits in perfect certainty beyond salvation is not our concern, for you have barely started to allow your first, uncertain steps to be directed up the ladder. Separation led you down. The miracle alone is your concern at present. Here is where we must begin. And having started, will the way be made serene and simple in the rising up to waking and ending of the dream. When you accept a miracle, you do not add your dream of fear to one that is already being dreamed. Without support, the dream will fade away without effects, for it is your support that strengthens it. No mind is sick until another mind agrees that they are separate, and thus it is their joint decision to be sick. If you withhold agreement and accept the part you play in making sickness real, the other mind cannot project its guilt without your aid in letting it perceive itself as separate and apart from you. Thus is the body not perceived as sick by both your minds, from separate points of view. Uniting with a brother's mind prevents the cause of sickness and perceived effects. Healing is the effect of minds that join, as sickness comes from minds that separate. The miracle does nothing just because the minds are joined and cannot separate. Yet in the dreaming has this been reversed, and separate minds are seen as bodies which are separated and which cannot join. Do not allow your brother to be sick, for if he is half, you abandon him to his own dream by sharing it with him. I don't like that sentence, but he has not seen the cause of sickness where it is, and you have overlooked the gap between you where the sickness has been bred. Footnote 16. Overlooked here means not recognized. Both you, in other words, both of you have failed to recognize that the cause of your brother's sickness is your joint belief that there is a gap between you. Yet the gap, a central term in this chapter, is not a real space of separation, but merely a wish to keep apart and not join. Back to the text. Thus are you joined in sickness, to preserve the little gap, unhealed, where sickness is kept carefully protected, cherished, and upheld by firm belief, lest God should come to bridge the little gap that leads to him. Fight not his coming with illusions, for it is his coming that you want above all things that seem to glisten in the dream. The end of dreaming is the end of fear, and love was never in the world of dreams. The gap is little, yet it holds the speeds of pestilence and every form of ill, because it is a wish to keep apart and not to join. And thus it seems to give a cause to sickness which is not its cause. The purpose of the gap is all the cause that sickness has, for it was made to keep you separated in a body which you see as if it were the cause of pain. The cause of pain is separation, not the body, which is only its effect. Let's go down and read footnote 17. Which is only its effect means that the body is merely an effect of separation. Back to the text. Yet separation is but empty space, enclosing nothing, doing nothing, and as unsubstantial as the vacant space between the ripples that a ship has made in passing by, and covered just as fast as water rushes in to close the gap, and as the waves in joining cover it. Where is the gap between the waves when they have joined and covered up the gap which seems to keep them separate for a little while? Where is the grounds for sickness when the minds have joined to close the little gap between them where the seeds of sickness seem to grow. God builds the bridge, but only in the space left clean and vacant by the miracle. The weeds of sickness, and we're going to go down and read footnote 18, the weeds of sickness are apparently the result of when the seeds of sickness seem to grow. So the weeds of sickness and the shame of sin he cannot bridge, for he cannot destroy the alien will that he created not. Let its effects be gone, and clutch them not with eager hands to keep them for yourself. The miracle will brush them all aside, and thus make room for him who wills to come and bridge his sons returning to himself. Count then the silver miracles and golden dreams of happiness as all the treasures you would keep within the storehouse of the world. The door is open, not to thieves, but to your starving brothers who mistook gold. I have a hard time reading this, I apologize. Who mistook for gold a shining pebble, and who stored away a heap of snow that shone like silver. Let's go down and read footnote 19, Matthew 6:19 through 20. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust consume and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust consumes and where thieves do not break in and steal. Like the biblical passage, the above passage also contrasts two different treasures housed in two different places. The first treasure house is a conventional one, where silver and gold are stored and where thieves can break in and steal. The real emptiness of the treasure house, however, comes from the inherent emptiness of the treasure itself. The gold is likened to a shining pebble and the silver to a heap of snow. The second treasure house is the real one. It contains a different kind of treasure, silver miracles and golden dreams of happiness. And its door is open and welcome so that the starving brothers who treasured conventional gold and silver can come in and enjoy the feast of plenty set before them there. And now we'll go back to text. They have nothing left beyond the open door. What is the world except a little gap perceived to tear eternity apart and break it into days and months and years? And what are you who live within the world except a picture of the Son of God in broken pieces, each concealed within a separate and uncertain bit of clay, our body? Be not afraid, but let your world be lit with miracles. Footnote 20. Be not afraid is a phrase found throughout the King James Bible, for example. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. And that's Matthew 14:27. Back to the text. And where the gap was seen to stand between you, join your brother there, and sickness will be seen without a cause. The dream of healing in forgiveness lies, and gently shows you have never sinned. The miracle would leave no proof of guilt to bring you witness to what never was. And in your storehouse it will make a place of welcome for your Father and yourself. The door is open, that all those may come in who would no longer starve and would enjoy the feast of plenty set before them there. And they will meet with your invited guests. The miracle has asked to come to you. 21. The guests are your Father and yourself. So I'm going to repeat that sentence. And they will meet with your invited guests. The miracle has asked to come to you. This is a feast unlike indeed to those the dreaming of the world has shown. For here, the more that anyone receives, the more is left for all the rest to share. Footnote 22. This seems to be an allusion to the feeding of the 5,000 and the 4,000 in the Gospels, Matthew 14 and Matthew 15, in which Jesus uses a few loaves of bread and fishes to feed a great multitude. after which his disciples collect as many as 12 baskets of fragments. Back to the text. The guests have brought unlimited supply with them, and no one is deprived or can deprive. Here is a feast the Father lays before his Son and shares it equally with him, and in their sharing there can be no gap in which abundance falters and grows thin. Here can the lean years enter not. Footnote 23. This draws upon the biblical story of Joseph, who interprets part of the Pharaoh's dream to mean that there will be 7 years of famine in Egypt. The 7 lean and gaunt cows that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears of grain blighted by the east wind are also 7 years of famine. And that's Genesis 41 through 27. Back to the text. So I'm going to read that sentence again. Here can the lean years enter not, for time waits not upon this feast which has no end, for love has set its table in the space that seemed to keep your guests apart from you. And now we will read Robert Perry's commentary. This is Robert Perry's commentary on day 326, section 3 of chapter 8, The Feast of Plenty. How do we react when someone we know is sick? We may recoil, even if their sickness isn't contagious, as if the mere fact of sickness could somehow infect us by proximity. Hopefully we respond with caring and try to help however we can. As spiritual seekers, we may remember that somehow they manifested this sickness for themselves, though hopefully we do not say this to them. Chances are, though, that what this section has to say never occurs to us, which is that we are co-responsible for this person's sickness. Excuse me. The story goes like this. Our brother is sick because he believes he is separate from us. Because this sense of separateness produces guilt, and because his guilt is then projected onto his body in the form of a punishing illness. However, he can't really believe that he is separate from us unless we first agree with him that yes, he is separate. Ironically, he can't believe in his separateness unless we jointly decide he is separate. He needs our two minds from separate points of view to confirm that he is in fact separate. Only then can he be sick. This fact places healing power in our hands. Now, if we just let go of our belief in this separateness, he will be healed. This is the role of the healer and the role of every caring friend and family member of someone who is ill. We need to turn within our own belief in the gap between us. If we do, we will find a wish to keep apart and not to join. We will find an intention to keep a wall between us. We need to face what the Course calls the gap, which is a central theme of this chapter, and which receives its main introduction in this section. This is the gap between us and our brother. It seems like an objective buffer zone of enforced separation, yet it is really nothing, as unsubstantial as the vacant place between the ripples that a ship has made in passing by, and covered just as fast as water rushes in to close the gap, and as waves in joining cover it. We, however, make this gap seem real and substantial by pumping it full of our desire to stay separate. This desire then sows the seeds of sickness, which eventually grow into a choked and noxious garden of sickness. Our job then is to let go of the alien will to stay apart from our brother. This invites the miracle to come and brush aside that alien will and all its ill effects. This in turn makes room for God to come in and bridge the little gap between us, and thus our brother is healed. Can we consider all this, that our agreement that our brother is separate has allowed him to be sick, and that our willingness to unite with him can actually heal him? Perhaps we know someone right now who is sick. Can we consider that all this is true in relation to that particular person? Right as I type this, my younger son, who is homesick from school, walks into my office. Miracles like these that enter our minds and then go out to heal our brother are meant to be our most treasured possessions in life, far more precious than silver or gold. If they are the treasure that we assiduously collect, will we have true wealth to share with our starving brothers? Why are they starving? Because they mistook for gold a shining pebble and stored away a heap of snow that shone like silver. What this means, of course, is that they stored what we call real gold and silver in the mistaken belief that those had actual value. And then, when they went to make a withdrawal and enjoy the fruits of their labor, all they found in their storehouse were shiny pebbles in a puddle of water. But they're okay. They can come to our place where a lavish feast is underway, and they are welcomed as honored guests. At this feast they can do far better than meet celebrities. They can dine with God and the Christ themselves, who have brought an endless supply of abundance. No one starves at this banquet, which literally never ends. It is a beautiful image, the meaning of which is surely not that obscure. If we do what Jesus says, and count then the silver miracles and golden dreams of happiness as all the treasures you could keep within the storehouse of the world, then simply being in our presence will be an ongoing feast, and our brothers, who may be wealthy in a physical sense but are starving in a deeper sense, will be drawn to us to partake in this feast. In our presence they will dine not on food but on miracles. They will feel nourished at a level that no food could ever touch. They will feel absolved of their past mistakes, and the years will slide off their shoulders. Long-standing illnesses will unexpectedly vanish one by one, and they will sense that they are in the presence of more than just us, that they are in the hallowed presence of God and Christ. Can we imagine being the host of this feast? Can we imagine this being our new job, and this being our new life? All we need to do is treasure above all those miracles by using every opportunity to face the little gap and sweep it clean of our wish to separate. Thank you so much for joining with us, Course Companions group. Day 326, Chapter 28, Section 3, The Feast of Plenty. I love you. Have a beautiful day.